What about a Terence Crawford? If he ever was willing to go to 54, you think that's a good fight?
We can make some money. Yeah.
I believe Danny Garcia also is looking at 154.
That's a lot of guys. Why they don't fight each other? Leave me the hell alone. Let them fight each other.
Well, they want the champ. You know that.
right. Of course. They got to work their way up to the champ. They go come prove. I can't see you until you prove it. Right? I've been proving it.
Universally recognized as pound for pound the best fighter in the world. Terrence Crawford.
When it comes to Jermell Charlo, one thing for sure and two things for certain. He always wants all of the smoke. And this greatness mindset didn't start today. It actually started a decade ago when Jermell Charlo was willing to fight Canelo, Andre, Erislandy Lara, and every killer in his division. And we talking about Jermell, not Jamal here, which is why I always rated Jermell Charlo as a top 10 pound for pound fighter. And in the occasion Jermell beats Castano for Undisputed, he will easily break through the top 5 tier pound for pound fighters. But you know who's on top of that list? The one and only the pound for pound king, Terence Bud Crawford, who has been the pound for pound king for the past 5 years. The true pound for pound number one since they were erasing Lomachenko losses, since Canelo was taking steroids and robbing his opponents from Triple G to Lara, Terence Crawford still remains supreme. He became a trendsetter, the first to become undisputed, breaking the ice that hasn't been broken for 13 years. Now everybody today wants to become undisputed, from Jermell, Canelo, Errol Spence, Devin Haney, Tyson Fury, Usyk, Josh Taylor, Shakur Stevenson, etc., etc., etc. It was all thanks to Terence Crawford who set all of that into motion. Now the pound for pound king Crawford is looking to become undisputed at 147 and 154, where he called out the hottest smoke located in Texas, Jermell Charlo and Errol Spence. We all know Crawford is not on that European tour, like the pioneer of the NBF League in the sport of boxing, the European assassin himself, Canelo Alvarez. Absolutely not. Crawford is cut from a different cloth. He wants all of the smoke. That's why after Crawford became undisputed, he wanted more. He moved up to 147, called out Keith Thurman, Errol Spence, and all of the top dogs, only to get rejected for good reasons, because the A-class boogeyman Crawford has been knocking out every single opponent he fought for the past 5 years. We talking about fighters that has never been knocked out before, such as Sean Porter, Benavidez, so on and so forth. However, recently Crawford said, if I can't get the Errol Spence fight, then I'm willing to move up and fight the winner of Jermell Charlo versus Castano. But shockingly, Jermell Charlo, who has never rejected any smoke. We're not talking about Jamal here. We talking about Jermell, the one with all of the heart. All of a sudden, I get informed that Jermell Charlo told Crawford, you need to prove yourself against Danny Garcia, a fighter that has already turned down a fight with Crawford in the past. That's first of all. Second of all, how is Jermell Charlo telling Crawford to prove himself when Crawford is rated higher on the pound for pound list? Crawford is pound for pound number one. He has nothing to prove. That's like Jermell telling Floyd Mayweather to prove himself. I mean, how is Crawford supposed to prove himself to Jermell when whatever Jermell is trying to accomplish today in boxing, as far as becoming undisputed, Terence Crawford has already accomplished that a half a decade ago. So make it make sense when you say prove yourself. You can't say prove yourself to a fighter that's way more accomplished than you are. Crawford is a 3-division world champion. Meanwhile, Jermell is a single division world champion. Crawford is also way more popular and famous than Jermell Charlo, where Bud always did more ratings than Jermell. Crawford is also way more paid than Jermell Charlo, meaning Crawford makes way more money. Plus, what is fighting Danny Garcia going to prove? Danny Garcia never fought at 154. He's currently not a champion, and he just came off a loss. To make matters worse, Danny Garcia already turned down a Terence Crawford fight. So Jermell telling Crawford to prove himself by fighting Danny Garcia is equivalence of telling Canelo to prove himself by fighting Angulo Chavez Jr. or something crazy like that. See, it tells you a lot what these fighters think about Crawford. When you see Jermell call out Canelo, who's fighting at 175, asking him to fight at a catchweight because obviously they 3 divisions apart. However, when it comes to the little man, Crawford, who's moving up in weight, willing to fight Jermell at his own weight, at 154 pounds, Jermell is treating him like he's the big dog. You would expect Jermell to welcome the smoke from the smaller fighter. However, it's the contrary. He's telling Crawford to stay at 147. Like, wait a minute. Why is the fighter with the lion heart telling Crawford to leave him alone and stay at 147? Doesn't he know that Terence Crawford wants to cook some Texas barbecue in his backyard and Errol Spence's backyard? Apparently, everyone wants the smoke until Terence Crawford pulls up. I guess Bud was telling the truth when he said he is the smoke. All we need is for Jermell to say smoke and Crawford will pop up like a genie. However, instead, all we get is Jermell double talking when it comes to Crawford. 1 minute he's gonna knock him out if he messes with him because he's a knockout artist, right? Like Crawford hasn't knocked out every single opponent for the past 5 years. Then the next minute, Jermell tells Crawford, you need to prove yourself against Danny Garcia, Keith Thurman, and Errol Spence. Stay at 147. Don't come to 154. Errol Spence is the man in your division. Like, it's not as clear as day that Crawford have been chasing them guys for years. In fact, Keith Thurman and Danny Garcia actually turned down offers to fight Crawford. In addition to that, Crawford clearly said, if I can't get the Errol Spence fight, then I want the winner of Jermell versus Castaño. In other words, Crawford is saying if Errol Spence avoids him for the undisputed fight of the decade, then he wants the next best thing to make up for it. That's why when Jermell is telling Crawford to fight Errol Spence, it comes off like, what are you talking about? That's exactly what Crawford has been trying to do for years. And when it came to the money split, even Errol Spence admitted, quote, to my fault. Errol Spence said that he should have never brought that to the public. Therefore, ultimately, it comes down to, do you want the fight or not? We're not talking about passing it down to your partner, so on and so forth. We talking about Jermell, because we all know Crawford wants the fight. However, the $1 million question, does Jermell want the fight? I got confused trying to figure out if he does or doesn't, which means he doesn't. Like I said before, there was a lot of double talking by Jermell. He did not give a straight answer. I mean, Jermell Charlo even brought up Bob Arum to save the day or something. I don't know why he resorted to bringing up Bob Arum, but apparently Jermell Charlo is not informed that Bob Arum is begging today. I'm not talking about yesterday, I'm talking about today, to work with Terence Crawford, offering him a Josh Taylor fight for a lot of money. After the lawsuit, where Bob made it clear despite the lawsuit, he will still love to work with Crawford. So Jermell Charlo knows better than I do. That's nothing but a race thing. And why even bring up Bob Arum when Crawford is a free agent now? Which takes me back to the Devin Haney quote. They say everything but let's fight. Furthermore, I truly believe Errol Spence will be a man of his word and fight Terence Crawford for the biggest undisputed fight in boxing. We all want to see the fight of the decade next between Crawford and Errol Spence, so obviously we all going to hold Errol Spence accountable. Then the winner of that fight, which could be either or, should definitely fight the winner of Charlo versus Castaño. That will be undisputed versus undisputed, something that has never been done in boxing in the four belts era. So let's say if Crawford and Jermell remain supreme, then I don't see Jermell turning down such a huge money and legacy fight. And if Errol Spence becomes the king of boxing, then I don't see why Jermell wouldn't fight Errol Spence for all of the money and glory when he spars Errol Spence on the regular for free. Also, if another scenario plays out where Castaño wins, then that's an easy fight to make. With the facts being laid out, drop your thoughts in the comment section below. Subscribe below. peace, and I'm on to the next one. I'm going to leave you guys with what Jermell told Brian Custer on the Last Stand podcast. Check it out, and peace out.
I know all the smoke. I see y'all tooting y'all trains when I walk by. Baby, I'm looking good. I see your little light boys coming up from the 147. You got a little name and you're making your name for yourself. Your Crawfords. Now your Crawford. My dog live in Omaha. I know how Omaha roll. Y'all ain't never seen no real shit like this shit here. Now I like Omaha. There's some studs over there. Now I got highly respect for all of them, but you got some real business to handle with them other 147 pounders. Y'all got to go out, get out the way to mess with me first. We don't know how many fights we got left. I'm not here to chase that. I'm here to chase one thing, and that's to become undisputed champion of the world at a high weight division. Now, I don't know if I'm going to do it at 160. I don't know if I'm doing it at 154. But right now at 154, I'm that guy. And I've been here domaining for all of these years. It's time they put some respect on my name in the boxing world. And I'm going to stand up for who I am. And I'm going to stand up for what I represent. Now listen, I sure wish I could be the guy to fight Canelo. Canelo, come to 158. I can easily make 158. And I'll put a boxing lesson on him just as great as Floyd Mayweather did, the great, you know. I mean, I didn't say it all. Now, I don't understand what they got going on, but just, you know, pay me my bread. My brother could fight him at 160 and whatever the case is, and all these other guys. I'm the 54 champion, baby. Not the other one, but you know what? I'll put these hands on any one of these. Straight up.
Let's talk about that because, you know, obviously you got the fight with Castano, and you said that you want to be the undisputed champion. So you feel at 154, that's the last line of business for you before you think about your future, whether it's moving up or what have you. But yes, you alluded to it. But Crawford already said, hey, look, Errol Spence, I've been wanting that fight for the longest. If he don't want to fight me, then I want to fight Jermell Charlo, Brian Castano winner. What's your take on that?
How about he do what's best and go fight Errol Spence then? Shut up, take a little bit less money, be quiet, humble yourself, and fight Errol Spence, he a stud. Do what he say, and then you might be the challenger sometimes. These people don't know how to do that. They don't know how to be the challenger. That's his problem. He think he too high up on the horse. Bob Arum don't give a damn about him. Bob Arum told him to his face, he done got lawsuits with his own promoter. You ain't worth shit to me, for real. That mean the man didn't really care about you anyways. You should have just shut up, made the right decision with your people that love you, and then do what you gotta do. Like, it's not my fault that you can't. Hey, they got some studs. So Al Heyman only gonna sign the best of the best to me personally. You got Ennis, you got Garcia, you got Thurman, you got people making a name for themselves in your own weight division. Sit your ass in your weight division and see if you can beat one of them. Me, you gonna get knocked out. I'm a knockout artist, baby. I ain't here to play no games and I don't get paid for overtime. So it's cool, you know, run around with your family and love your family, bro, because this is how we doing it for. We're doing it for our family, but I take it all personal. This is a personal sport to me because I'm the only one in that ring when I get ready to match him up. So I don't see him beating me with the skills that I have and how hard I really go and how hard I train and what I really get in myself. He barely doing the stuff that I was doing in 2010. They don't even have a system over there. Errol Spence right now is the most dominant 147 pounder that they got. Because why? He proved himself. He done beat everybody in the division that he can. He started stepping on top of everything that he could throughout injuries, throughout tragic situations. Look at Errol Spence Jr. Now look at me at 154. I've been through some things as well. It ain't never compete with that what Earl been through. You know, try to keep my head on straight, but you know, I'm trying everything I can. But I don't know what the future for me is on moving up because my twin brother is at 160. You see, we the three Bash brothers.